A humble Japanese weaver watches his wife struggle with a manual loom day after day. He invents an automatic loom to ease her burden. Fast forward 90 years, that same family company builds a car every 13 seconds. A car that's so reliable, it becomes the world's most trusted name. But here's what nobody tells you: Toyota almost failed before it even started. A fire destroyed everything, a war devastated their factories, and the American car giants, they laughed at them. So how did a textile company with zero experience in automobiles become the manufacturer that destroyed Detroit's dominance and redefined what quality means? The answer will shock you, because it's not about cars at all. What's up, Profit Decoders? Today, we're diving into one of the most incredible business transformations in human history, the story of Toyota, and trust me, this isn't just another corporate success story. Here's what we're uncovering today. First, we'll reveal how a simple act of compassion for his wife led Sakichi Toyoda to create a textile empire that would fund an automotive revolution. Second, you'll discover the brutal failures, the near bankruptcies, and the moment Toyota almost gave up on cars forever. Third, we'll break down the legendary Toyota production system, the secret weapon that made them unstoppable and changed manufacturing worldwide. Fourth, we'll explore how Toyota survived multiple crises that would have killed any other company, from post-war devastation to massive recalls. And finally, we'll extract the powerful lessons that you can apply to your own life and business, whether you're building a startup or pursuing any ambitious goal. This is a story about innovation, resilience, and an obsession with perfection that borders on insanity. So buckle up, because you're about to learn why Toyota didn't just build cars, they built an empire on principles that will outlive us all. Let's decode this profit. Segment 1. The Weaver's Dream Origins of Toyota. Our story begins in 1867, in a small farming village outside Nagoya, Japan. This is where Sakichi Toyoda was born into poverty. His father was a carpenter. Life was simple, predictable, hard. But young Sakichi had something burning inside him, an insatiable curiosity about how things worked. While other children played, he watched his mother operate their wooden loom, weaving fabric for hours upon hours. Her hands would bleed, her back would ache, and Sakichi couldn't stand it. At 23 years old, something clicked. He decided to revolutionize the textile industry. People thought he was crazy. A poor carpenter's son, with no formal education, trying to innovate an industry that had remained unchanged for centuries? Impossible. But here's where it gets interesting. In 1890, Sakichi invented his first wooden hand loom. It wasn't just good, it was 50% more efficient than anything on the market, but he didn't stop there. He became obsessed. He spent the next 34 years creating over 100 different inventions related to textile machinery. His breakthrough came in 1924. The Type G automatic loom. This wasn't just an improvement, this was revolutionary. The machine could detect when a thread broke and automatically stop, preventing defective fabric. This single innovation, automatic defect detection, would later become the cornerstone of Toyota's entire philosophy. Think about that. A loom that could think, that could detect problems, that could stop itself before making mistakes. Sakichi Toyoda didn't just create a better machine. He created the principle that would later save millions of lives in automobiles and revolutionize global manufacturing: Jidoka automation with a human touch. In 1929, Sakichi sold the patent rights to this automatic loom to a British company for 100,000 British pounds, worth about $13 million today. But here's the twist that changed everything. He gave this entire fortune to his son, Kiichiro Toyoda, with one instruction: use this money to study automobiles. That's the future. A weaver who had never driven a car just bet his entire life's work on the belief that automobiles would transform the world. This is where our story truly accelerates. But before we continue, understand this: Sakichi Toyoda could have lived luxuriously off his textile empire. Instead, he gave it all away to pursue a vision he would never see completed. He died in 1930, just as his son began his automotive journey. That's not just business strategy, that's sacrifice. That's legacy thinking. That's playing a game that extends beyond your own lifetime. Segment 2. The birth of Toyota Motor Corporation, Chaos and Crisis. 1933. Kiichiro Toyoda takes his father's fortune and establishes an automobile department within Toyota Automatic Loom Works. Remember, this is a textile company trying to build cars. No experience, no expertise, just ambition and inherited money. The challenges were brutal. Japan had no automotive industry. All the cars on Japanese roads were American, Ford and General Motors dominated, the technology was entirely foreign. The supply chain didn't exist, skilled workers, non-existent. But Kiichiro was his father's son. He was obsessed with learning. He bought an American Chevrolet engine, took it completely apart, studied every single component, and reverse engineered it, piece by piece, bolt by bolt. For 3 years, they failed. Repeatedly, engines that wouldn't start, prototypes that broke down, critics everywhere saying, "Stick to looms, you'll never compete with America." Then, in 1935, they produced their first passenger car prototype, the A1. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. It was crude, it borrowed heavily from American designs, but it ran. It worked. It was the ass. In 1936, they produced their first truck, the G1. The Japanese military immediately showed interest. This was crucial because Japan was preparing for war and they needed domestic vehicle production. Here's a critical moment most people don't know about. In 1937, Kiichiro decided to spin off the automotive department into its own company. But there was a problem with the name. The family name was Toyoda, spelled with a deed. But in Japanese, Toyoda requires 10 brushstrokes to write. The number 10 was considered unlucky in Japanese culture, so they changed one letter. Toyoda became Toyota with a tight, which only requires 8 brushstrokes. 8 is a lucky number in Japanese culture, symbolizing prosperity and growth. This tiny decision, changing one letter for superstitious reasons, created one of the most recognizable brand names in history. Toyota Motor Corporation was officially born on August 28, 1937, but celebrations were short-lived. Within months, Japan entered World War II. The government mandated that Toyota focus exclusively on military trucks. Passenger car development stopped completely. Raw materials were scarce. Factories were bombed. Workers were drafted into the military. By 1945, when Japan surrendered, Toyota's facilities were devastated. The Koromo plant, their main factory, was partially destroyed. The economy was in ruins. Inflation was out of control. Nobody was buying cars. Toyota was on the verge of bankruptcy. In 1949, the company faced its darkest hour. They couldn't pay their workers. They couldn't secure loans. The banks demanded massive restructuring. Kiichiro was forced to lay off 1,600 employees, a quarter of the workforce. The pain was unbearable. Japanese culture values lifetime employment. Firing workers wasn't just a business decision, it was a cultural betrayal. Kiichiro was devastated. In 1950, Kiichiro Toyoda resigned as president, taking full responsibility for the layoffs. He fell into depression. He would die just 2 years later, at age 57, never seeing Toyota's ultimate triumph. But here's where the story takes an incredible turn. Segment 3. The Toyota production system. The revolution. Inspiring music builds. Enter Taiichi Ono. If Sakichi Toyoda was the grandfather of Toyota's philosophy, and Kiichiro was the ambitious son who built the company, then Taiichi Ono was the genius who created the system that would conquer the world. Ono was a production engineer who joined Toyota in 1943. After the war, he was given an impossible challenge: make Toyota competitive with American manufacturers who were producing 10 times more cars with far greater resources. In 1950, Ono visited Ford's Rouge plant in Detroit, the largest and most advanced automotive factory in the world. He expected to be blown away. Instead, he was shocked by what he saw: waste everywhere. Massive inventories sitting idle. Workers waiting for parts, defective products being fixed at the end of the line. Overproduction, creating mountains of unsold cars. The Americans had resources to waste. Toyota didn't. This constraint became their competitive advantage. Ono realized something profound. If we don't have resources to waste, we must create a system that produces zero waste. This insight gave birth to the Toyota Production System, TPS, arguably the most influential manufacturing philosophy ever created. Let me break down the core principles that changed everything. Principle 1. Just-in-time production. J. Instead of building massive inventories like American factories, Toyota would produce exactly what was needed, exactly when it was needed, in exactly the right quantity. No more, no less. Think about the brilliance here. Inventory costs money, it takes space, it can become obsolete, it hides problems. By eliminating excess inventory, Toyota forced themselves to make their production process perfect. Every part arrives at the assembly line exactly when needed, not a minute earlier, not a minute later. This is why Toyota pioneered the Kanban system, visual cards that signal when parts need to be replenished. Principle 2. Jidoka. Automation with human touch. Remember Sakichi's automatic loom that could detect thread breaks? Ono expanded this principle to the entire production line. Here's what's radical. Toyota gave every worker the authority to stop the entire production line if they noticed a defect. In traditional factories, stopping production was a cardinal sin. At Toyota, it became sacred. They installed andon cords above every workstation. If a worker saw a problem, they pulled the cord and the line stopped immediately. The team would swarm the problem, fix the root cause, and prevent it from ever happening again. American factories were focused on speed. Toyota was focused on perfection. Principle 3. Continuous improvement. Kaizen. This is perhaps the most powerful concept of all. At Toyota, everyone from the CEO to the janitor was expected to constantly identify ways to improve processes. Not big, dramatic changes. Small, incremental improvements. Every single day. Forever. Think about this mathematically. If you improve by just 1% every day, in 1 year, you're 37 times better. That's the power of compound improvement. Toyota created a culture where workers weren't just laborers, they were problem solvers, innovators, collaborators. The company received millions of employee suggestions every year. Millions. And they implemented a significant percentage of them. Principle 4. Respect for people. After the devastating layoffs of 1950, Toyota made a commitment: lifetime employment for core workers. They invested heavily in training. They treated workers as the company's most valuable asset. This wasn't just altruism, it was strategic brilliance. When workers know they won't be fired for pointing out problems, they become your quality control system. When they know they'll be with the company for life, they think long term. They care deeply. Now, here's where this system proved its power. By the 1960s, Toyota was producing cars that were more reliable, higher quality, and more affordable than American manufacturers, despite having a fraction of the resources. In 1966, Toyota launched the Corolla. This single model would become the best-selling car nameplate in history, over 50 million units sold worldwide. But the real test was coming. Segment 4, Conquering America and Global Domination. 1957, Toyota makes its first attempt to enter the American market with the Toyopet Crown. It was a disaster. The car was underpowered, couldn't handle American highways, and broke down constantly. American dealers laughed. American consumers ignored them. Toyota could have quit. Instead, they studied their failure obsessively. They realized American roads were different, longer distances, higher speeds, different driving conditions. So they went back to Japan and redesigned everything. 1965. They returned to America with the Corona. This time, they were ready. The Corona was reliable, fuel efficient, and affordable. It started gaining traction. But the breakthrough came in 1973. The Arab oil embargo hit America like a bomb. Gas prices quadrupled overnight. Americans were waiting in lines for hours just to fill their tanks. The big, gas-guzzling American cars suddenly became liabilities. And there was Toyota, with fuel-efficient, reliable, affordable cars that Americans suddenly needed. The Corolla, the Corona, and later the Camry became American bestsellers. Toyota's reputation for quality and reliability became legendary. By the 1980s, American automotive executives were in panic. They couldn't understand how Toyota made such reliable cars. So Toyota did something insane. In 1984, they formed a joint venture with General Motors, Namamai, New United Motor Manufacturing Inc. Toyota would teach GM their production system at a factory in Fremont, California. Think about this. Toyota, the competitor, teaching their rival their secret sauce. Why would they do this? Because Toyota knew something profound. The system itself wasn't the competitive advantage. The culture of continuous improvement was, you could teach someone the TPS principles, but implementing the culture, that takes decades. GM learned the techniques but never truly absorbed the culture. Meanwhile, Toyota kept improving. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, Toyota's growth was unstoppable. 1989, launched Lexus, their luxury brand, which immediately competed with Mercedes and BMW. 1997, released the Prius, the world's first mass-produced hybrid car. when everyone said hybrid technology was impossible. 2008, Toyota overtook General Motors to become the world's largest automaker. That same year, 2008, GM filed for bankruptcy. The company that once dominated 50% of the American market was destroyed. Meanwhile, the Japanese textile company that everyone laughed at was now the king of the automotive world. But success brought its own challenges. Segment 5: Crisis, Recalls, and Resilience. 2009 to 2010. The darkest period since the company's founding, Toyota faced a massive crisis. Millions of vehicles recalled due to unintended acceleration issues, reports of accidents, fatalities, congressional hearings. The president of Toyota, Akio Toyoda, grandson of the founder, was summoned to testify before the US Congress. The company that built its entire reputation on quality and safety was now accused of putting profits before people. What happened? Toyota had grown too fast. In their rush to become number one, they had compromised the very principles that made them great. They had outsourced more components. They had pressured suppliers. They had expanded faster than their quality control systems could handle. They had violated their own principles. Akio Toyoda stood before Congress, tears in his eyes, and took full responsibility. Not just corporate PR responsibility, genuine personal responsibility. He bowed deeply in the traditional Japanese gesture of profound apology. But then, he did something more important. He fixed it. Toyota went back to basics. They slowed their expansion, they brought more production in-house, they reinforced their quality systems, they invested billions in safety technology. By 2012, Toyota had reclaimed their reputation. Consumer Reports ranked them as the most reliable brand again. Then came 2011. Another crisis. The Tohoku earthquake and tsunami devastated Japan. Toyota's supply chain was crippled, production stopped globally. But because of the Toyota production system's emphasis on relationships with suppliers, they recovered faster than anyone thought possible. Within months, production was restored. And in 2020 to 2021, when the COVID-19 pandemic and chip shortages crippled the entire automotive industry, guess who handled it best? Toyota. Their just-in-time system, their supplier relationships, their crisis management protocols, all born from decades of continuous improvement, helped them navigate the chaos better than any competitor. Segment 6: Toyota Today and the Future. Today, Toyota is worth over $250 billion. They sell over 10 million vehicles annually. They operate in 170 countries. They employ over 370,000 people worldwide. But what's fascinating is that they're still innovating like a startup. While other manufacturers were slow to embrace hybrid technology, Toyota sold over 20 million hybrid vehicles. While everyone debated whether electric vehicles were viable, Toyota developed hydrogen fuel cell technology with the Mirai. They're not just following trends, they're creating them. In 2021, Toyota announced a $70 billion investment in electric vehicles over the next decade. They're developing solid-state batteries that could revolutionize EV range and charging times. But here's what's most impressive. Toyota is still practicing the same principles Sakichi Toyoda established over a century ago. They still practice Kaizen. They still empower workers to stop the line. They still obsess over eliminating waste. They still think in generations, not quarters. When Akio Toyoda stepped down as president in 2023, remaining as chairman, he didn't hand power to an outsider or a finance executive. He chose Koji Sato, an engineer who rose through the ranks, who understands TPS, who embodies Toyota culture. Because Toyota knows technology changes, markets change, products change, but principles are eternal. If this story inspired you, if you learned something valuable, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button for Profit Decode. We decode the strategies, the failures, and the principles behind the world's greatest business empires. Like this video, if Toyota's story resonated with you, comment below what other company stories do you want us to decode, Apple, Amazon, SpaceX, and share this with someone who needs to hear this message that greatness isn't about resources, it's about principles. It's about resilience. It's about playing the long game. Now, let's talk about what we can learn from all of this. Lesson 1. Constraints breed innovation. Toyota succeeded because they lacked resources, not despite it. When you can't outspend your competition, you must outthink them. In your life, stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop waiting for more money, more time, more resources. Your constraints are your competitive advantage. They force you to be creative, efficient, and strategic. Ask yourself, how can I turn my limitations into innovations? Lesson 2. Systems beat goals. Toyota didn't set a goal to become the world's #1 automaker. They built a system, the Toyota production system, that naturally produced excellence. Goals are temporary, systems are permanent. Goals get you to a destination, systems keep you there. In your life, stop obsessing over outcomes. Start obsessing over processes. Don't say, I want to lose 20 pounds. Say, I will build a system of daily exercise and healthy eating. Don't say, I want to be successful. Say, I will build a system of continuous learning and improvement. Your daily systems determine your decade outcomes. Lesson 3. Empower everyone to stop the line. The and-on-cord principle is revolutionary, giving every worker, regardless of rank, the authority to stop production when they see a problem. Most organizations work the opposite way. Problems are hidden. Mistakes are covered up. People are afraid to speak up because it might hurt their career. In your life, create an and-on-cord culture in your relationships, your team, your family. Make it safe to point out problems. Make it celebrated to catch mistakes early. The cost of fixing a problem at the source is pennies. The cost of fixing it after it's spread through the system is dollars or lives. Lesson 4. Play the infinite game. Sakichi gave away his fortune for a vision he'd never see. Kichiro resigned in shame but built something that outlived him. Toyota thinks in generations, not quarters. In your life, are you playing a finite game trying to win this quarter, this year, this moment, or an infinite game building something that outlasts you? The finite game is about beating competitors. The infinite game is about outlasting them. Start every decision by asking, will this matter in 10 years? In 50 years? After I'm gone? Lesson 5. Continuous improvement over dramatic transformation. Kaizen, 1% better every day, seems insignificant, but compound improvement is the most powerful force in the universe. In your life, stop looking for the big breakthrough, the magic moment, the overnight success. Start looking for small daily improvements. Can you improve your craft by 1% today? Can you improve your relationships by 1% today? Can you improve your health by 1% today? Do that for a year and you won't recognize yourself. Lesson 6. Failure is data. Toyota failed in America in 1957. They studied the failure. They came back stronger. When recalls hit in 2010, they took responsibility, learned, and improved. In your life, stop fearing failure. Start seeing it as expensive education. Every failure contains a lesson. Extract it. Apply it. Move forward. The only true failure is failing to learn from failure. So here's my question for you, Prophet Decoder. You just watched how a weaver who felt compassion for his wife's suffering created a textile empire. How his son bet everything on an impossible dream. How engineers with no resources out-innovated the richest companies on earth. How a culture of continuous improvement conquered the world. Now ask yourself, what's your automatic loom? What problem in front of you, if you solved it, could change everything? What's your impossible automotive dream? What are people telling you is crazy, unrealistic, beyond your capabilities? And most importantly, are you willing to plant trees whose shade you'll never enjoy? Are you playing the infinite game? Because 90 years from now, when people tell the story of your industry, your field, your life, will your name be in it? Toyota's story isn't just about cars. It's about legacy. It's about what happens when principles meet persistence, when innovation meets humility, when vision meets sacrifice. Your story is being written right now. Every decision, every day, every moment. What will it say? I'm Prophet Decode, and I'll see you in the next one.